settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet, to be followed by the music of The Water is Wide by Joseph M. Martin. You're also invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow. I've asked Vicki to light our chalice while I give voice to the chalice lighting words. by the groundbreaking psychiatrist, psychotherapist, and author Carl Gustav Jung. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being.
Okay, good morning. I'm Beth Posner-Waldron, and I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. I'm just going to take a deep breath because I've been running in and out with some groceries for the food pantry. Okay, so we begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people who survive and remain active here as the Nipmuc tribe. If you want to learn more about the Nipmuc community, please see the brochure in our foyer. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time in person and online this morning. We're delighted that you are here. We hope that you'll join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or want more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please ask. I think we have some folks here that may have a button that says Ask Me About UU, but if not, just ask anybody. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes and so we might come to know you better, as you are able, please type your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated. Though you are not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and we'll use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you'd like yours to be read aloud, please print it on one of the index cards found in the pew, and you can put it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will also be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those online, you can type a joy or sorrow in the chat, and we will share it during that time in the service. In the foyer where you entered are listening devices, large print service programs, and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you to turn your technology to worship mode, and you know what that means. This morning, we're delighted to welcome Reverend Michael Hall back to our sanctuary as our guest minister this morning. Reverend Hall graciously served as one of our guest ministers last winter during Aaron's sabbatical. Reverend Hall has been ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister since 2012. After a 12-year settlement at his first church, Michael now serves as the Unitarian Universalist congregation. He now serves at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Franklin, New Hampshire. This morning, he returns to UUCW to talk about the trouble we sometimes have reconciling the idea of being with the concept of self. Finally, I'll have a brief announcement, but there's also announcements on the back of your program, and there'll be time for short verbal announcements following the postlude. But one of the things when you do the welcoming remarks is you get to tack on your own announcement. So I'm here as a member of Side with Love and the Get Out the Vote team with a reminder that we're still collecting signatures for a petition to put a rent stabilization question on the ballot next year. So we have the lounge reserved from 11:30 to 12:30 for those of you who have questions about this referendum. It's been kind of noisy in coffee hour, but we've been collecting signatures in there the last 2 Sundays. And we're doing this as part of an initiative with Homes for All Massachusetts. It's one of the coalition partners of UU Mass Action. And if you don't know what the answer to that question is, what does democracy look like? This is what democracy looks like. You get enough signatures, you get a question on the ballot, and then you get a tax bill passed that's funding free community college. That's what happened 2 years ago. So we're hopeful that this is something that can happen again. If the state legislature doesn't take action, then we'll have a question on the ballot and get some relief for renters. We're so glad that you're here. We hope this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation.
Good people, we gather in the flawed beauty of our humanity, full of hopes, full of dreams, love and memories, loss and anguish, commitment and wonder. We gather to remind ourselves that we are on a shared journey with friends old and new. We leave our door open to newcomers. We are willing to change as necessary and yet honor traditions which are still alive in us. Such is the mind and manner of Unitarian Universalists, open to learn, inclusive of others, willing to be of use in the world. Welcome, good people, to this sanctuary, which is your sanctuary, home to a lively congregation and a living faith. Once again, I say welcome, and it's nice to be back with you again today. Our opening hymn is a bit of a fanny wagger, so, it's not in order, of course, we don't do that. But you're welcome to wag your fanny if you wish. It's number 361 in Singing the Living Tradition, the Slate hymnal. It's called Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
That was some good singing. And wagging, yeah. I'd like to invite all of our children to come on up here with Reverend Michael for a special story. After the story, then we'll do our Change for Change collection as well as our food collection. Then all kids will go to the sanctuary to pack some bags. So first, come on up front and have a seat on the ground. We're not doing our collection yet. We're listening to Reverend Michael.
Good morning. Can you hear this? Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Michael, and I come from a church in New Hampshire that's very small, and there's only 2 children in the whole congregation. And so, knowing that I was coming back today to a church with somewhat more children, I broke the usual order of things so I could tell you a story rather than read one from a book. Have any of you ever heard of mythology?
Okay, mythology is basically beliefs or legends of a specific religion, like Greek mythology, and so on.
Thank you. And we benefit here from valuing the mythic stories and of different cultures, including, of course, the Greek and Romans, which many of us here, it may have been the only myth we studied ever in school. But as you use, sometimes you read and hear stories from Native America, stories from Africa and Brazil and China, and some of them are linked as this young person here. What's your name? Okay, so if I forget where I'm at, I'm just going to pass it to you, all right? So one thing that I always loved about myths is that they are stories from a particular culture that want to teach us some lesson about living. And it's good to take those lessons in, but you're Unitarian Universalists. Sometimes I think it's really good to question them, to challenge them, to amend them somewhat if necessary. One of my favorite mythological stories is from the Greeks, and it's about a guy named Daedalus, who was a very smart, very talented, and I'm sure became a very wealthy architect and builder and clever man generally. And he had a son named Icarus. And if you know something about the myth, you know that they have a different outlook on life. And so I think it's important as Unitarian Universalists that we recognize that different people are different. And we're different sometimes by the color of our skin, by the religions that we choose to follow, by a bunch of different things. Can you think of anything else?
The people that you just mentioned were actually from a Greek or Roman thing about being like he had a son that you made wings of wax and paper by his son.
Okay, so the story of Daedalus and Icarus is sometimes told, at least it was told to me, and I had to get, to be at least this big to go, what's that? As the story of Icarus, Daedalus, this crafty man, this very brilliant, inventive man, and his son, Icarus, who just didn't get he just didn't agree with, or he forgot about a very important lesson that Daedalus had told him. Now, a lot of times people think, oh, Daedalus, somewhat hooked to this child who wasn't on the same wavelength, as we used to say in the 80s, just before the Greeks did their conversion. And what happened was, and this is the reality, you can look it up, but know that myths are also, they continue to be built over time. So the legends around Daedalus and Icarus are in many sources quite distant from each other. Sound like any famous book of scriptures that you know? Right. So Daedalus had taken the money and accepted a job from a king named Minos. And Daedalus, he started to think he had to build a big labyrinth. uh, where a bull was kept, a ferocious, fearful bull was kept. And the king had some plans about, just killing people off by sending them into the labyrinth to be hurt by the bear. Yeah.
It's not a bear. It's actually called the Minotaur.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you. So they've been paying attention, right? And maybe I ought to go back to the book again. But before, what I'm saying about this particular myth is before we go throw roses at Daedalus's feet, he took a contract from a king, he double-crossed the king, and by association his younger son were put up in a rather nice prison, up in a building where they were given some food, but were basically going to be kept to the end of their life. So Daedalus has got some problems with me, because you try not to get your kids in a lot of trouble, especially with angry adult kings. And Daedalus, he spent all of his time trying to think, how can we get out of here? And Icarus spent most of his time thinking, wow, isn't the ocean beautiful from here? Isn't it just beautiful blue? And aren't the birds nice to come and sit on the window and talk to us? And Daedalus was thinking about other things. See, the first, how do we get out of here, right? And so one day, Icarus was looking out over the ocean, and he said, the birds have left some twigs on the sill. And he said, isn't that wonderful? The birds are keeping us company, Father. And Daedalus was saying, yes, right, yeah. What did you say? Does that ever happen to you? You say something really profound and brilliant, and the people you think are listening are only half listening?
No.
No. All right. Our future president, ladies and gentlemen. And so Daedalus came up with this plan. He was going to take sticks, and he was going to take tallow, wax. The Greeks didn't have lamps like we do, or even candles in the same way, but there was plenty of wax that he was able to scrounge up around this place. And he started to draw, and he made a frame, and he put a covering on it, and he put leaves on it, and he tested it to see whether the wings would turn. And then he said, Icarus, I can get us out of here. So Icarus was like, I don't know that I want to go. It's beautiful, ocean view, right? And he kind of liked it up there with the birds. The day came, and Daedalus said, okay, Icarus. Well, he didn't say okay. He said, Icarus, listen to me. You need to remember that the object of the wings is to get us out of here. But I know they're not built that well, so you've got to be careful not to go up near the sun, because the wax will melt and the wings will fall apart. And Icarus said, we're going to fly? Yes. We're going to fly, but you got to hear it. Don't go too close to the moon. Yes, to the sun. And on the day when it seemed best to try this, Daedalus had already decided what path they had to go, where they needed to land, to be out of Ninus' territory and to be free of him. So they went one by one. Daedalus said, okay, now Icarus, it's your turn. And Icarus went out and down, and he looked down. And what do you think he did?
He flew up too close to the sun and then fell into the
And he did what some of you might do. He did a loop-de-loop. He did a barrel roll. He caught some upward draft of the wind, and he took it right up, higher and higher, and he felt like he was a bird himself. And that's when, of course, he fell. And Daedalus, who was coming after him, made it to safety, and Icarus died. So sometimes people say that Daedalus was this wonderful man and brilliant guy. And he was so smart, and Icarus was foolish in things that he wasn't paying attention. And sometimes we don't pay attention. And sometimes we don't pay attention because we're doing something really cool. And we want to test our wings. And that's the important story about this one. Daedalus wasn't a saint. Icarus wasn't a fool. They were just different type of Unitarian universalists. Thank you all. Really great. Thank you.
Okay, let's collect food and change. Raise your hand if you change. Raise your hand if you have any change, or bring your food out to the aisle and we'll collect your food.
I really love the idea of that, change for change, and bringing kids, getting the younger people involved in the hard work of activism, the hard work of justice, really. So I wanted to make sure when it was left out of the first draft of the order of service, I'm like, no, keep that one, cut the sermon or whatever, because it's just wonderful to see it. And I'm glad that you do that. Now I introduce Rachel Keogh to give our 8th principal moment.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Keogh, and I am a member of the 8th Principal Task Force. UUCW's 8th Principal Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. The Eighth Principle Moment is a monthly opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifests in our everyday lives and continues to hold such issues in the forefront of our hearts and minds. Today's Eighth Principle Moment is in recognition of Marshall Walter Major Taylor's birthday this month, which is on November 26th. To honor his birthday and prolong his legacy, I thought to share a bit about his life and a project that I, my husband Brian Keogh, and other members of our congregation, Corey Henry and Chris Billier, are all involved in. This project is called Whirlwind, which is a film documentary about the history and life of Major Taylor. I am embarrassed to say that before I moved to Worcester, I had no idea who Major Taylor was. This seems to be quite common in many conversations I have had over the years. Major Taylor was also recently highlighted by the New York Times in a series called Overlooked, a celebration of remarkable, unappreciated people who broke the rules and changed the world. This series publishes the obituaries of extraordinary people whose deaths went unreported in the newspaper. Marshall Walter Taylor was born on November 26, 1878, in Indianapolis, Indiana. He was one of 8 children. He acquired the nickname Major as he would perform bicycle tricks outside a bicycle shop dressed in a military uniform to attract customers. The bicycle shop owner entered Major Taylor in his first race, a 10-mile race which he won. He was only 13. Even while showing his extraordinary ability as a cyclist throughout his cycling years, he was banned from competitions, cycling clubs, often harassed and physically attacked because he was black. His racing manager, Louis Munger, nicknamed Birdie, convinced Major Taylor to move to Worcester. Munger believed that Worcester offered a more tolerant and supportive community where Major Taylor could focus on racing without as much open hostility. Bertie Munger was moving to Worcester to open a new bicycle factory, the Munger Cycle Manufacturing Company, during the cycling boom. Under Bertie Munger's guidance, Taylor honed his strength and speed in Worcester. He broke records, stunning audiences around the world. In 1889, he became the world track cycling champion, making him the first black world champion in any sport. He was called the Worcester Whirlwind. He built a home base in Worcester with his wife, Daisy, and their daughter, Sydney. As the cycling craze faded in the early 1900s and the automobile became the focus, Major Taylor's fame declined. He retired in 1910 and moved to Chicago. He struggled to capitalize on his success, his health declined, his marriage ended, and he died in June of 1932 at the age of 54. Thinking about all that he endured throughout his life, resilience clearly defines his legacy. In June 2024, I attended an inspiring exhibit titled Resilience at the Worcester Center for Crafts, where I met Cyril Vincent, the producer and director of a film documentary project called Whirlwind. I was immediately drawn to Cyril's passion to make Major Taylor's history known. At this event, I made the decision to join Cyril along with our group of friends to come together to help create momentum and support around this film project. This year, our committee held 2 fundraising events in Worcester and aim to hold the next event in the spring of 2026, which you all will hear more about. If you haven't already, plan to visit the Major Taylor Museum here in Worcester. It's located at 2 Main Street, inside the Courthouse Lofts building. Call to confirm the hours of operation before you head over, as the hours are not consistent each day. I am happy to share the phone number and address during coffee hour. I also have the book, Major Taylor, The Fastest Bicycle Rider in the World by Andrew Ritchie, if you'd like to take a look at it. And now, here is the trailer for Whirlwind, which I would like to share with you.
His story was so powerful no black athlete had ever encountered what he had to do.
He set out to be the fastest man alive.
Major Taylor is a part of American history. He was the first one. He was this world champion.
He also had to deal with a tremendous amount of backlash, purely racially motivated against him.
He faced a lot of adversities in order to ride because of the color of his skin. He went through a lot. He didn't have to do this. He could have quit.
What was Major Taylor riding for? What drove him? What was Major Taylor chasing? What was he running from?
All he asked for was the right to compete, to be there. Whether they were going to give him a fair opportunity or not, he was going to give it his all to show that he belonged. Major Taylor wasn't just racing for himself. He was racing to change the world.
Thank you, Rachel. The sermon today is called Just Be Yourself. The hardest blow to absorb is not always the one that hits on truth, but the one that challenges it. Many years ago, when I was still preparing to enter ministry, I took part in my first mock. Mocks were the familiar name given to the practice interviews that ministerial candidates were advised to arrange to simulate what their meeting with the MFC, dun dun dun, the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, will be like. The MFC determines whether you are ready to be credentialed as a Unitarian Universalist minister. Hopefully, your mock interview would create something similar to what you would go through at the real interview and help you identify weaknesses in the sermon you had chosen to preach to the MFC. The mock panel's job was to point out any holes in your preparation for the rigorous hour-long interview with the MFC, which in my case was scheduled for September 23rd, 2011. The mock team also attempted to sound your knowledge of the 15, or was it 16, could be now 18 areas of academic and professional competence in which a Unitarian Universalist minister at that time was expected to be proficient and practiced. At that time, a candidate for our ministry could expect questions on a variety of subjects ranging from Hebrew scriptures to social ethics to ministry with youth and young adults to leadership and organization, pastoral care, and, well, we'll leave it at that for now. The Ministerial Fellowship Committee itself also develops questions based on reams of personal reflections, evaluations, psychological tests, transcripts, your theology of nearly everything under the sun, and background checks that it collects over the course of an individual's pursuit of Unitarian Universalist ministry. For a potential minister, the MFC interview could be either the last hurdle cleared on the way to ordination and settlement in a church, or the impenetrable wall barring the way. So the mock was, and I imagine still is, very important, to say the least. Considering its importance, I set up 2 mocks. The first was on September 1st. At the conclusion of my first mock, I was savaged. The interview team I had enlisted was comprised of good friends who I chose particularly for their candor, not for their reticence or unmitigated sweetness. And they delivered. They had several criticisms of my performance. It wasn't that they had nothing good to say. In several parts of the interview, the team thought I did great, but they hated my sermon and suggested I not use it at all. They corrected a few factual errors and admonished me to watch my tone and avoid any flippancy, especially on the day of the real interview in Boston. But the worst criticism of all was when they said I wasn't authentic. They thought I was being pedantic and smart-alecky. They said that I was behaving like I had to prove I belonged in the ministry rather than just being the guy who did belong. I wasn't being true to the person they knew and loved, the joyful, honest Michael, whose ministry they already believed in. They questioned whether I believed in me or not. And when they saw how worried and concerned I was about their comments, they said, if the Michael we know shows up for the MFC interview on September 23rd, he'll have no problem. Just be yourself. At that moment, I was convinced that the team was right, that in the interview I hadn't been true to myself. I was also overwhelmed by the fear that if I were capable of not being myself at a fake interview, who's to say the real me would show up for the real interview with the MFC? I went into a funk. I stopped studying. I paced, I prayed, I indulged my legendary competence in ice cream eating. I mulled my fate and ruminated on my predicament. I stroked my beard and shook my head a lot. Why hadn't I chosen a career in architecture or cosmetology? How could I mess this up? I felt as though I had lost myself entirely. Or perhaps I didn't know myself at all. Ben Franklin once said that there are 3 extremely hard things: steel, diamonds, and to know oneself. I wondered if in 45 years I had even made a dent in knowing who I was. Sometimes life whips around like the tail of a kite, and we encounter situations that surprise, deflate, and baffle us. Right now, any one of us might find ourselves in the proverbial deep end of the pool, just trying to keep our nose above the water. We may find ourselves beyond all natural abilities and our comfort zone. We hear the persistent tick, tick, tick of our days speeding by ever so quickly. We may feel we haven't time to follow a call, to play at life, or to learn new skills. As I did in the mock interview, we may freeze up at the wrong time, struggling to integrate life's changes and constant challenges. Doubts may arise. Things don't seem to come naturally or easily anymore, and it's hard to just be yourself. Thankfully, in my case, After some quality time spent whining and sighing and staring ruefully into space, I began to wonder just what in the name of Clara Barton was my mock interview team talking about? What exactly was this self that I was supposed to be when I was being myself? How could I be so sure they knew what they were talking about? And if they didn't, wouldn't that self be merely a caricature drawn from the best things that my good friends and mentors saw in me when they are busy overlooking my awkwardness and folly? How could anything that I am or do be alien to me? I may be joyful and honest and loved, and that's fine, but don't try to deny myself its flaws and insecurities. Would I be myself without my beautiful smart aleckiness? Would I be myself without my tiresome pedantry, my passionate chatter, my whining, and, beard stroking? Could I dismiss the precocious inner child who sometimes shows up wanting to prove to everybody near and far just how smart, talented, and lovable he is? Perhaps you feel similarly that our true dignity and worth is inherent only in the fullness of our being. The search for truth and meaning yield neither unless we bring our whole, crazy, beautiful, imperfect, dazzlingly perceptive, and entirely unaware humanity to bear. For me, the self began to seem an illusory thing, a construction based on experience and the rickety persistence of memory. The self is not to be found anywhere, and yet we are always entire at any time we are alive or in any of the roles we adopt over time. The woman is more than the little girl, student, spouse, or a co-worker that she was, and yet, like Emerson's roses, she is wholly alive in every point of her life. The self is only a shadow puppet with which we try to cover our naked being. Buddhists don't believe in the idea of an independent self. They think of a person as a collection formed from what are called the 5 skandhas or aggregates: form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. The skandhas themselves are empty vessels, principles underlying all human appearance and passing away. According to one source I read in preparing this sermon, it seems more that the self is an emergent phenomenon arising from the application of complex interpretive schemes to perception. Complex interpretive schemes to our playing with the idea of self rather than being fully ourselves. It's a product of mental process and manipulation. It's the thinking thing. Our lives, however, are living things. When I was a kid, I played a lot of baseball on the grassy fields and sand lots of Rock Village, where I grew up, down in Middleborough. We played all the time, boys and girls, first graders and teenagers, one and all, from the last day of winter well into September. When we didn't have enough people, we played pickle or catch. When it was wet, we got soaked, and our baseballs became sodden and heavy. When our wooden bats broke, we clenched them with a nail taped them up, and played on. By the time I got anywhere near, thank goodness, a proper ball field with chalk lines and bleachers, before I ever put on a uniform or listened to a pep talk from an adult coach, I had played a lot of baseball. I probably had some natural talent, but I had already worked so hard and played so much that the game just seemed to come naturally. That a ball popping up in my glove and then breaking my nose, well, that's part of the game. When I walked up to the plate, I didn't think about what I was going to do, and I didn't think of, thank goodness they didn't have all that hoo-ha that modern-day coaches are sometimes trying to tell 12-year-olds. When I came back, when I walked up to the plate, I didn't think about what I was doing. I didn't worry about keeping my hands back. I didn't think about weight transfer or the many other subtleties involved in trying to hit a moving sphere with a wooden cylinder. I didn't care what the pitcher was going to do. I kept it very simple. If I see a ball I can hit, I'm giving it a ride. I was confident, even a little cocky. The best coaching advice I ever received, however, was just be yourself up there. That's just what I did. I was playing hard, and having fun. Some say we are human beings, not human doings. By saying this, they are emphasizing that as humans, our purpose isn't to be constantly busy. How y'all doing with that one? But present in the various aspects and enjoyments of life. I've come to think that instead we are human humans transforming. How about that? Moving through the stages of life, learning new things that update our old ways of being in the world. We use ideas like the illusion of self to impress our love love of constancy and need for consistency amid a flux and happenstance of life. We choose our character and behaviors through practicing life, playing hard, and having fun. We become what we are through trial and error. Sometimes flat-out failure unlocks a door to resources we never knew we had, and successes we would otherwise never have reached. From time to time, we pause in the middle of a growth period, and we fret, and we dream, and we listen to the wind and the trees and what some of us call our calling. Then we move on, forward, upward, and out of our old selves. We can only be ourselves in live action time through infinite choices made at rapid speed in an ever-changing world. In time, I knew exactly what my mock team meant when they said, just be yourself. They meant, keep your heart and your head connected, but let your heart run the show. They meant to be the one you cannot shake, the one you want to be, the one you are in the motion of living into being, not the self you revert to when you're doubted. When you're doubting, you know what you are and who you want to be. And they meant be true to yourself always, in doubt, in glory, and in growth. And that's who I brought to see the MFC. And now, 14 years later, I bring the lesson of it to you today. It is a blessing to be ourselves at any moment. The practice of faith is trust that we won't be lost in our own struggle, at least not for long, lost in this struggle for authenticity. But instead, we find ourselves within the struggle, amid the joys and sorrows of being alive, the search for truth and justice. We just try to practice the love that we preach and strive to personify. In this faith, we trust our doubts will teach us something important, and we question our certainty at all the while, stringing together a life that is whole, like a necklace, beautiful, original, organic, and yes, authentic. So let it be as it should be.
We pause once again in our service for another kind of offering, one that reflects the values and principles we hold dear. That which is symbolic of our own efforts and capacities, financial offering to continue the mission and ministries of this congregation. I invite you to participate in our offering as the plate comes around, and give as makes you feel good. For those newest among us, please consider this service a gift to you this morning. Do not feel obligated to contribute financially at this time. For those of you joining us online or those who wish to contribute digitally, like me, you are welcome to participate in our offering by either texting 508-232-5331 or by visiting uucworcester.org/donate and follow the instructions given there. At this time, the morning offering will be received.
the online community, and thank you so much for your attendance today. There we go. For your attendance today and for bringing those wonderful kids up to be wicked smart. We come to that time in our service when we pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds, or the work of our hands in the days that have transpired or in the days to come, joys and sorrows which touch us deeply and are given a measure of meaning because we can share them in the midst of our company that claims us as co-journers, journeyers. Those of you who have a joy or sorrow to share this morning are invited to form lines on either side of the sanctuary and come in turn to the microphone, telling us first who you are, so those using our auditory enhancement devices might also participate in this important ritual. And then light the candle if you so desire. If you would like me to read your joy or sorrow aloud, please bring it with you on an index card from the pew. If you are joining us online, hello again. If you're joining us online this morning and have a joy or sorrow to share, please put it in the chat, preceded by please read. That's strange. I should probably be looking into a camera over here somewhere. So that it can be found quickly and we will share it during this time. Are there any joys or sorrows to be shared this day? If I had rushed her, there would have been no hug. Come on, go on.
Hi, I'm Angela, and in the spirit of being ourselves, I normally don't broadcast this because it's a personal journey, but for the first time in a little over 20 years, I am under 200 pounds. It has been a very It has been a very long, hard, and very arduous journey, but I'm very proud of myself, and because of this, I can fit into a railer seat. And thankfully, because I can fit into a railer seat, I got season tickets. And we are going tonight, so that is my personal journey. Thank you very much for, even spiritually supporting me.
My name is Craig Van Battenberg, the husband of Deb. We are parenting right now, teenagers, and we're 75 next month. And that happened when, about 3 years ago, Deb and I went to a place in Pennsylvania that I've never seen such poverty in my life. That includes third world nations we visited, where a distant cousin of mine's daughter, who I didn't know existed, was living with 3 children in a trailer with no electricity down a dirt road and no food. So we couldn't let them stay there. And Christy's been in the hospital now for going on 6 weeks. We have to go to probate court and become guardians because we're not sure of her fate. And yesterday morning, I had a chance to stand in a circle in the parking lot and watch these 2 great boys get on a bus, which they've never been to Maryland in their life, wrote a check because they didn't have any money. And Aiden looked at me at 14, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Grampy, I'll pay you back someday." But he paid me back by just being there.
I'm Catherine Roberts. Craig, thank you so much for sharing. I've been so enjoying the boys in the kitchen. So some of you have seen them. They've been helping me. And a year ago when they first arrived and started helping, because they were, I think, a little anxious about joining the youth, but when they were here, and they came in and they didn't know anything. And now they are pros. They know how to make the coffee. They know how to operate the dishwasher. You know, they know how to plate food. Like, they know how to be sanitary. They know how to clean up. They know how to set up. It's wonderful. And they're so proud of themselves, and I'm so proud of them. So, yeah, no, they're great. They're doing great. They're doing great. So I'm up here because a couple months ago, maybe a month ago or so, I said that I had a whole slew of aunts and uncles who were nearing death. And the first one died. And yesterday, the family got together, and I was asked to preside over the interment of the ashes for my uncle. And it was such a wonderful and remarkable event. It was a little freaky because my relatives are very organized, and my 7 aunties and uncles and their spouses have already purchased all of their graves and purchased their gravestones with their names on them, all lined up. So they're all ready, they're all prepared. So it was a little strange to be like, oh, that's where you're gonna be, and oh, that's where you're gonna be. But it was still a wonderful, wonderful day yesterday. So I want to share that the cascading is continuing, and you know, that's what we're all facing, but it's beautiful in its own way too.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jackie McMullen. I have some awesome news. My sister had her second daughter, Lucy Jean, and so I'm so excited. And also too, I don't know if many of you know, but my dad passed away in May, and his spirit has just been coming in like hardcore. The messages and the signs from him. On the way driving here, I saw a hawk on one of the Worcester signs, and I was like, that's Dad. And then, of course, one of our responses in the book is Ralph Waldo Emerson, which is one of his favorite authors. So I just wanted to thank you so much for like all your support, and I love coming because every time I come, every Sunday, sometimes I have my kids, sometimes I'm by myself, but I just feel his presence all the time. So just wanted to say thanks so much.
Are there any messages from the home folks? All right. We love you anyway, you know. I probably went a little long, so thank you. There are many things shared today about promise and hope, about new beginnings and planned endings, about the difficulty we have acknowledging that the poor live among us. The folks, like in my other job, I'm an educator at a residential house for mentally ill people. They are with us. They need our support. And I know that you do all that you can in this community to provide that support, as much or as little, as much as you can find time for. And there never is an end of when your generosity, your compassion, your kindness to someone who has been struggling with weight or dealing with the loss of a loved one or trying to help people see all that they can be is happening now because of your careful and loving administrations. Let us pray to be content in all we have and all that we lack, to be discontent with the things that need to be changed, exposed, supported, to be at peace with ourselves when appropriate, be willing to make peace with each other, with others, when that is what you are called to do. Trust the call. Let us share our dreams with each other, but not let our focus stray too far, too long from the day before us. Let us be ready to change as we grow and be willing to love others in our community, especially those who most need allies. By the continual practice of seeking meaning in our lives, let us come to understand something about who we are. Let us invite happiness and wholeness into our lives and pass it on. Amen. Blessed be. When Matt said he was going to try to get the bell choir together, I was so jazzed. I really just love to hear this music, especially this song at this time. America the Beautiful, our America, always striving to be the place that we imagine it can be. This song was based on a poem by Kathleen Lee Bates, who was born in Falmouth, Mass. And taught at Wellesley. She went on a trip to Pikes Peak, and I think she also went for the White City in Chicago at the Exposition and World Fair. And she started to think about the America she saw, from sea to shining sea. And the sea that she was looking at that time was the view of all the forests and vegetation around and coming from Pikes Peak, Colorado. So it was also a song that was played by American troops when the armistice on the 11th of November in 1918 was declared. And as may appear to be true, when he said, "My country, 'tis of thee," I thought of America the Beautiful. They're both wonderful songs, and you claim them as yours too.
We're going to interrupt. Everybody in? Testing?
So we have put together 25 bags of food for the food pantry. 75.
So it's a good start. Now, there's our chart. Betsy's gonna go do some shopping, and you can all return to your seats with your folks. You go.
The responsive reading today is number 556, These Roses by Ralph Waldo Emerson. These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are what they are. They exist with God today. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full-blown flower, there is no more. In the lifeless root, there is no less. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we lose the image of nature to the present of time. Closing hymn is in the Teal hymnal, Singing the Journey. The hymn is number 1017, Building a New Way. Please rise in body or spirit.
I want to thank everyone who helped in each in their own way to make this service today. Matt and Andy and the folks in tech and the bell choir. I felt like I worshiped today too, and I appreciate you for making that possible. Good people, it is at the end of worship that religion truly begins. We have gathered today to rekindle our chalice, but the flame, we must carry that within us out into the world. We have gathered to remind ourselves that our shared principles and values need to be more than the contents of a sign on the wall or empty words on our lips. They must be the life's blood of a living faith, the vision in our eyes, the music in our ears, the hope in our hearts, the loving kindness and ingenuity that we share. Go in peace and with a purpose, love to guide your steps. Our postlude is also by Joseph F. Martin, Holy Manna.
Once again, worship here has ended, but our service continues with any short announcements. Aaron underlined short twice. Interesting. Yes. Short announcements.
Come share a special evening to celebrate and help raise funds to care for and maintain this building that means so much to all of us. The event is called Turn Up the Lights. This gala will include a wine and tapas pairing, a band performance, and dancing. A Latin dance lesson will also be included to help freshen up our dance moves. The event will be held at the JMAC, the Jean McDonough Arts Center, in Worcester, across from the Worcester Common. Come enjoy music, laughter, and the warmth of being together. It's a chance to celebrate the comforting space this building has given us and to help ensure it continues to be a welcoming place for years to come. The Gala Committee team would love for you to help us spread the word and invite your friends, family, and everyone you may know who loves and uses this space. December 13th, Saturday, December 13th. You'll hear more about
Seeing no other announcements, let us gather in the fellowship hall for refreshments and conversation.